Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Kyle burst into tears when Summer revealed the whole truth about Claire, that she was Holden's wife, and for a moment the room seemed to shrink around him, the walls closing in as the weight of betrayal and shock crushed him in a way he hadn't thought possible, his chest tightening, every breath feeling like it had been stolen from him as he stared at Summer, who herself looked pale and uneasy, guilt flickering in her eyes despite her attempts to remain composed, and he couldn't believe that. After everything, Holden, the man he had trusted implicitly, the man who had always seemed so upright and untouchable, had been hiding the deepest secret of all, a secret that now threatened to dismantle the fragile equilibrium of his life, his relationship with Summer, and even the tenuous bonds he had with his family, because if Holden could deceive them like this, then who else was he lying to? Who else had been caught in this web of deceit? And as Kyle's tears streamed down his face, blurring his vision, he could barely see the glimmer of fear and sorrow reflected in Summer's own eyes, as though she were silently begging for forgiveness that he was not ready to grant. And yet the hurt was mingled with a tumultuous storm of anger, confusion, and disbelief, each emotion colliding violently inside him, making it nearly impossible to think clearly, and in that moment, the world outside the room seemed to fade away. The hum of the city, the distant traffic, even the faint sound of someone laughing downstairs, all reduced to insignificance as Kyle's mind replayed every interaction, every smile, every word from Holden over the past months, searching desperately for the signs he had missed, wondering how he could have been so blind, so utterly naive, and the betrayal felt visceral, almost physical, like a punch to the gut, and it wasn't just Holden's deception that wounded him, it was the ripple effect on everyone else. The questions it would raise, the alliances that would fracture, the secrets that would inevitably spill into the open, because in Genoa City, nothing stays buried for long, and Kyle knew that once this truth was out, lives would change forever, loyalties would be tested, and hearts would be broken in ways that could never be mended. And even as he thought of confronting Holden, of demanding answers, of trying to make sense of the chaos, there was a part of him that feared the confrontation itself, feared what he might discover about the man he had admired, the man he had considered a friend, a mentor, and as he wiped his face with the back of his sleeve, trying to regain some semblance of composure, Summer reached out tentatively, her hand hovering near his shoulder, unsure if he would welcome the gesture or recoil in his anguish, and when he finally looked at her, the vulnerability in his eyes mirrored the storm raging inside him, a storm that no one could calm with words alone. Because some truths cut deeper than anything else. And this revelation about Claire, about Holden, about the lies that had woven themselves so seamlessly into their lives, had cut Kyle to the core, leaving him raw, exposed, and uncertain of how to proceed, uncertain of whom to trust, uncertain of whether he could ever forgive, uncertain of whether the life he thought he had known was nothing more than a fragile illusion. And yet, amid the tears, amid the heartache, amid the suffocating sense of betrayal, there was a flicker of determination, a spark that refused to be extinguished, for Kyle was not one to crumble entirely, and as much as the revelation threatened to undo him, he knew he had to navigate the treacherous waters ahead, to confront the lies, to challenge Holden, to protect those he loved, and perhaps, in the chaos, find some glimmer of clarity, some path through the darkness that now surrounded him. And as Summer's hand finally rested gently on his arm, her presence a fragile anchor in the storm, Kyle took a shuddering breath, knowing that nothing would ever be the same again, that the fragile bonds of trust, the illusions of love, and the comfort of certainty had all been shattered in an instant, leaving nothing but raw emotion, painful truths, and the urgent, desperate need to rebuild a life from the ruins of deceit, betrayal, and heartbreak, because in Genoa City, where secrets are currency and trust is fragile, Kyle would have to navigate a labyrinth of lies, confront the ghosts of the past, and fight for the future he still dared to imagine. Even as his tears continued to fall and the revelation about Claire and Holden echoed in his mind like a relentless, haunting refrain that refused to be silenced, shaping the next chapter of his life in ways he could not yet fathom, and the weight of it pressed on him, crushing yet clarifying, painful yet illuminating, as he realized that nothing, no betrayal, no secret, no lie could ever define him completely, that he still had agency, still had choices, still had the power to confront the storm, to face Holden, to untangle the threads of deceit, to seek justice, to demand truth, and in that moment of despair, of grief, of overwhelming emotion, Kyle understood that the path ahead would be arduous, fraught with danger, heartbreak, and confrontation, but it would also be a journey toward truth, toward self-discovery, and perhaps ultimately toward redemption for himself and for those caught in Holden's web. And though the tears flowed freely, though his heart felt as if it had been rent in two, there was a quiet resilience in him, a determination that refused to yield, a silent vow to uncover every secret, to face every lie, and to reclaim the life and trust that had been stolen from him. For Kyle knew, with a certainty that cut through the haze of emotion, that the truth, however painful, was the only way forward. And with Summer by his side, trembling yet steadfast, he felt the first stirrings of courage, the faint glimmer of hope that, even amid betrayal and heartbreak, they could navigate the treacherous world of secrets and lies in Genoa City, confront Holden and emerge, perhaps bruised but unbroken, determined to forge a path defined not by deception but by truth, integrity, and the enduring strength of love and loyalty. And as the seconds stretched into minutes, and the minutes into hours, Kyle's sobs gradually gave way to a shaky resolve, the raw edge of grief softened slightly by the knowledge that he would not face this alone, that even in the darkest moments, the bonds of family, friendship, and love could provide light, could provide guidance, could offer a way through the darkness. And as he held Summer's hand, feeling the tremor of her own fear and uncertainty, he understood that while Holden's betrayal had changed everything, it had also revealed something profound, that even amid lies and heartbreak there was still truth, still loyalty, still the possibility of redemption. And as the weight of the revelation settled heavily upon him, Kyle allowed himself a moment of clarity, a breath of resolve, knowing that the journey ahead would be harrowing, that every choice, every confrontation, every revelation would test him in ways he could not yet imagine, but that he was ready, finally ready, to face the storm, to confront Holden, to unravel the tangled web of deceit, and to fight for the life, the love, and the truth that had been nearly stolen from him. Because in Genoa City, where the line between friend and foe is always blurred, where secrets fester beneath the surface, and where betrayal can strike at the most unexpected moments, Kyle realized that only by confronting the past, embracing the present, and preparing for the turbulent future could he hope to survive, to protect those he loved, and to emerge from the chaos not as a victim, but as a force of resilience, determination, and unwavering pursuit of justice. Even as the tears still wet his cheeks, even as his heart still ached, and even as the shadow of Holden's deception loomed over every thought, for in that moment of devastation, Kyle found the faintest flicker of strength, the tiniest spark of hope, the first step toward reclaiming his life from the ruins of betrayal. And as Summer whispered a quiet, shaky reassurance, he felt the first tremors of courage stir within him, the knowledge that together they could face whatever truths, lies, and storms lay ahead, navigating the treacherous waters of Genoa City's secrets and deceit with hearts that had been wounded but not defeated, spirits that had been tested but not broken, and a resolve that, though newly forged in pain and heartbreak, burned brighter than ever, promising that Kyle would rise from the ashes of betrayal, confront Holden, uncover every hidden truth about Claire, and fight for a future defined not by lies but by honesty, loyalty, and the enduring bonds of love and trust, however fragile they might be. Because in the end, Kyle understood that even in a city built on secrets and deception, the human heart's resilience, courage, and capacity for hope could prevail. And with that realization came a quiet, determined strength that would guide him through the darkness, toward a reckoning that would shake Genoa City to its core. For Kyle was no longer just a man blindsided by betrayal. He was a man awakened, ready to face the storm, ready to seek truth, and ready to reclaim the life and love that had almost been stolen from him. Kyle's mind raced uncontrollably as he struggled to process the revelation about Claire and Holden, each thought colliding with another in a storm of disbelief and fury, his body trembling as if the very air around him were charged with electricity, every nerve ending alight with the shock of betrayal. And yet, beneath the immediate pain, a cold, calculating edge began to form, a part of him that refused to let Holden's deception define him, that refused to be a passive victim in the drama that had upended his life. And as Summer squeezed his hand in a fragile gesture of solidarity, he felt a surge of conflicting emotions, love intertwined with anger, loyalty shadowed by suspicion, grief wrapped tightly around a burning desire for truth, and the dichotomy of his feelings threatened to tear him apart from the inside, leaving him raw, vulnerable, and exquisitely aware of how utterly complicated the relationships in his life had become. For in Genoa City, where nothing is ever simple and secrets lurk behind every smiling face, one revelation is never enough to settle the storm. It only opens the door to a cascade of new questions, new fears, new betrayals waiting to be unearthed, and as Kyle wiped the tears from his eyes, trying to anchor himself in some semblance of rational thought, he realized that Holden's lies had created a ripple effect that could destroy everything he held dear, from his trust in Summer to his tenuous alliances with his friends and family, from the fragile threads of his own self-confidence to the delicate social equilibrium of the city itself, and he could feel the weight of this knowledge pressing down on him, almost physically, like a leaden shroud that threatened to suffocate him if he did not act. And yet action was complicated, for confronting Holden was not merely a matter of airing grievances. It was stepping into a dangerous arena where every word, every gesture, every misstep could ignite a chain reaction that none of them could control, where old rivalries could flare, long-hidden grudges could resurface, and the lives of the people Kyle loved most could hang in the balance. And he knew that the first step had to be understanding Holden's motives, dissecting every interaction, every smile, every casual remark to see where the cracks in the facade had been. And even as he did this, he felt a pang of regret, a bitter sense of self-recrimination for not seeing the signs sooner, for allowing his trust to be manipulated so thoroughly. And yet, in that same moment, he recognized that the depth of Holden's deception also illuminated a truth about himself. He was capable of resilience, of courage, of confronting even the most daunting challenges with clarity and strength, if only he could harness the emotions swirling around him instead of letting them consume him. And as he reflected on this, Summer spoke again, her voice trembling but resolute, her words laced with the same fear and determination that mirrored his own, and she reminded him that they were not alone, that their families, their friends, even those who had been quietly observing the unfolding drama, would soon have to reckon with the truth, whether they were ready for it or not. And the thought of this larger social reckoning sent a shiver down Kyle's spine, for in Genoa City, secrets never remain buried for long, and when they surface they explode with the force of a hurricane, leaving devastation in their wake. And he knew that he had to be prepared, that he had to anticipate every possible outcome, every reaction, every move that Holden or Claire or anyone else implicated in this intricate web of lies might make. And the enormity of the task made him feel both exhilarated and terrified, for the stakes were higher than he had ever imagined, and the consequences of failure were unthinkable. Yet in the same breath, he felt a surge of clarity, a sense of purpose that cut through the fog of emotion and betrayal, telling him that the only way forward was through confrontation, through exposure, through uncompromising pursuit of truth. And as he considered this path, he realized that there were alliances to form, strategies to craft, and emotional minds to navigate, for the human heart is as treacherous as any hidden agenda, and in a city like Genoa City, even those closest to you may harbor secrets that could unravel everything in an instant. And yet Kyle was no longer the naive young man who had once believed in simple truths and uncomplicated loyalties. He was now a player in a much larger, much darker game, where stakes were measured not just in money or status but in trust, love, and survival itself. And as he contemplated the challenges ahead, he felt a shiver of anticipation, knowing that every interaction, every conversation, every whispered confession could become a weapon or a shield in the intricate battle unfolding before him. And this realization brought with it a strange mixture of fear and exhilaration, for Kyle understood that the path forward would be treacherous, yet it was also the only path that could restore some sense of order, some glimmer of truth, some measure of justice in a world so thoroughly infected with deception, manipulation, and hidden agendas. And as he turned his gaze to Summer, seeing the worry etched across her features, he understood that their bond, tested now by betrayal and secrecy, would either crumble under the pressure or emerge stronger, more resilient, more unbreakable. And this knowledge steeled him, gave him a sense of purpose that transcended immediate pain. For if he could navigate the labyrinth of lies and betrayal ahead, he could not only reclaim his own sense of integrity and self-respect but also protect the people he loved from further harm. And as he held Summer close, feeling her own trembling resolve, he felt the first spark of a plan taking shape in his mind, a strategy that would allow them to confront Holden, expose the hidden truths, and secure a future that was not dictated by manipulation and deceit but by honesty, courage, and loyalty. And yet even as this plan began to crystallize, Kyle was acutely aware of the dangers inherent in its execution, for in Genoa City, even the best laid plans can unravel in an instant, and one misstep, one poorly chosen word, one underestimated ally or enemy could turn the tide against them, leaving them vulnerable to heartbreak, betrayal, or even worse, and this knowledge made him cautious, calculating, strategic in a way he had never been before. And as he considered every possible scenario, he realized that the revelation about Claire and Holden was not merely a shock to his personal life but a turning point, a catalyst that would force every character in this drama to reveal their true selves, their hidden motives, and the lengths they were willing to go to protect their secrets or pursue their desires. And Kyle understood that he had to be ready for this unfolding storm, ready to confront not only Holden but Claire, the rest of his family, and every player in this intricate, high-stakes game, for survival in Genoa City was never guaranteed, and even the strongest, most cunning individuals could be toppled if they allowed emotion to cloud their judgment, and Kyle knew he could not afford that mistake, not now, not ever, because the consequences were too great. And as he took a deep, steadying breath, allowing the rush of tears and adrenaline to ebb slightly, he felt a renewed sense of determination, a quiet but unshakable resolve that, no matter how treacherous the path ahead, no matter how tangled the web of lies and deception, he would face it with courage, with integrity, and with the unwavering commitment to uncover the truth, protect those he loved, and reclaim the life that had been so violently disrupted by Holden's betrayal. And in that moment, the storm within him began to shift, the chaos of emotion settling into a razor-sharp focus, a single-minded pursuit of justice, clarity, and truth that would guide him through the treacherous days, weeks, and months to come, as he prepared to navigate the labyrinth of secrets, lies, and hidden agendas that defined life in Genoa City, fully aware that every decision, every revelation, every confrontation would test him to his very core, but also knowing that through this crucible of betrayal and heartbreak, he would emerge stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever, ready to face whatever storms, secrets, and betrayals awaited him, because in Genoa City, survival required not just courage but strategy, not just emotion but calculation, not just love but unflinching loyalty. And Kyle, with Summer by his side and a mind sharpened by grief and betrayal, was determined to master all of it, to confront Holden, unravel every lie, and reclaim a sense of peace and justice in a city where both were in perilously short supply. And as the weight of the revelation finally began to settle into a simmering, focused energy rather than a consuming flood, Kyle felt the first inklings of empowerment, a quiet but potent assurance that he could face the chaos, that he could confront the betrayal, and that he could emerge not merely unbroken but triumphant, ready to chart a course through the intricate, often dangerous web of love, loyalty, and deception that was the very essence of life in Genoa City. And in that charged, emotionally fraught moment, he made an unspoken vow to himself and to Summer, a vow that no matter the obstacles, no matter the heartbreak, no matter the lies yet to be uncovered, he would fight, he would endure, he would confront, and he would ultimately prevail, because Kyle understood, more than ever, that the path to truth and justice is never easy, but it is the only path worth walking, and he would walk it, whatever the cost, with courage, with integrity, and with the unshakable resolve of a man who had been tested by betrayal, refined by grief, and forged into someone capable of facing the most formidable challenges Genoa City could throw at him. Kyle's mind churned as he considered the implications of Holden's deception, each scenario more unsettling than the last, and he realized that confronting Holden directly might not be enough. He would need evidence, leverage, and allies, people he could trust implicitly, though trust was now a fragile commodity in Genoa City, as fragile as glass and just as easily shattered. Summer's presence at his side was both comforting and a reminder of what was at stake. Her eyes, wide with worry and determination, reflected the same turmoil he felt, and he knew he had to protect her as much as himself. The thought of Claire's involvement gnawed at him, not just for the betrayal itself, but because it raised questions about who else had been complicit in keeping secrets, and whether the bonds of loyalty they had counted on were genuine or merely convenient facades. Kyle felt a steely resolve harden inside him, the raw pain of heartbreak transforming into clarity of purpose. He would confront Holden, expose the truth, and ensure that no one else would be hurt by this web of lies. Genoa City might be ruthless, but Kyle was ready to face it head-on, and he would not rest until justice, honesty, and loyalty prevailed, no matter the cost.